Hold on, I'm sending it. So you can see that, the stream text, okay? And then, okay, if you want closed captioning, that can be activated by hitting the CC button on the bottom. Also, you can see the transcript by clicking on the More button. And you can save the transcript by hitting the Save button located at the bottom of the transcript. And you can save the chat by hitting the Save button in the chat. If you want, at the end of this presentation, we can send the transcript to anybody that like that or the chat. If you want that, just send me an email at Rev Up REVUPNY at gmail.com. Is everybody okay with the accessibility features now?
Yes.
Everyone else? Okay, I hope it's okay for everybody now. Okay. And then let me just go back to now to tell you what Rev Up is New York, and then we'll go into the speakers telling us a little bit about each of them, and then the presentation. Okay, Rev Up New York is a chapter of National Rev Up, which is a statewide cross-disability coalition of leading disability rights advocacy and service groups and organizations dedicated to building the power of the disability vote through civic engagement and increased election accessibility through advocacy, education, and collaboration. Rev Up New York strives to foster a truly representative democracy. And I just, so you know who I am, I'm Kathy Collins. I'm wearing purple headphones. I have a pink top with no sleeves on, and my background is blurred. A white lady with reddish brown hair with some gray in it. And I guess we'll start now with Tina Fitzgerald, our first speaker. And also, if anybody has any issues with accessibility, just please let us know in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, Kathy, I think you have to spotlight me now.
Okay, hold on a second, everybody. Let me do that. Let me find. Okay, 1 second. Thank you for your patience. Okay, we have right here. And add spotlight. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. And now you can see me. My name is Tina Fitzgerald, and I live in the wonderful upstate college town of Syracuse, New York. And just tell you a little bit about myself. I have cerebral palsy and I use a wheelchair. And I have been a voting worker for about 30 years, give or take. I used to work on lever machines, if anybody remembers those. Um, and now I work as a poll site manager at the poll that's just blocks from my house. I also work for the Self Advocacy Association of New York and chair our Get Out the Vote committee. My educational background is special education and social work, and voting is my passion along with self advocacy. And now I'm going to pass it on to Natasha.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm Natasha Walkman. I am a Brooklyn-based resident. I am a disability advocate. I'm kind of a civic leader, as well as I am a wheelchair user due to the fact that I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta. I am a mom of two, a 26-year-old and a 12-year-old, and a wife who basically balances many roles in my life. My appearance right now, I am wearing a green dress. I am a white lady. I have brownish short pixie cut haircut. Um, and I'm very, very short, but you can't tell that because I'm kind of laying down. I have done work in my educational background. I have done work with the Community Education Council for District 22 in Brooklyn. I have done multiple roles of parents associations, parent teacher associations, school leadership, and everything to that effect. I am a poll worker. I have been a poll worker for roughly about as long as Tina, for about 30 years. I've been doing this since I was 18. I have had multiple roles in the voting world. I have went from poll worker, information clerk to, now I'm currently a coordinator for early voting and for general education. I mean, sorry, elections. Um, let's see. I don't know what else to say. Oh, and I also, sorry guys, I'm a little nervous. I'm also an assistant trainer for the classes when we train people to learn how to become a poll worker. And I am a member on I always say this wrong, so please forgive me, the New York's Accessible Voting Advisory Committee, which I'm brand new at that, so please forgive me. That's it.
Okay. Now we're supposed to go to Victor.
Did we lose Victor?
Yeah, I think we did. Wait, we'll go to you, Micah. Do we need
Okay.
to change the interpreter yet?
Well, I can say my thing.
Okay, let me find you first and put you on here. Hold on. Where are you? Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, everybody. 1 second. Where are you?
I think I'm pinned. I don't know. So my name is Michael Ring. If you need a verbal description of my appearance, I'm a 62-year-old white guy who, as usual, needs a shave. I got a fresh haircut. I wear eyeglasses. I happen to be wearing a blue T-shirt in my house, so my background is blurred. I am a lot of things. I acquired my disability 12 years ago. I have Guillain-Barré syndrome, which means I had sudden paralysis, and my healing was slow and not so complete. If I leave my house, I wear ankle braces, and my hands don't work too well. But one of the things I am running the Brooklyn Half Marathon tomorrow morning. So right after this, I go to sleep. My alarm's going off at 4 a.m. Um, it just and so besides my athletic achievements, I am also a member of the Board of Elections in the City of New York Accessible Voting Advisory Committee. I'm chair of the uh, MTA Accessible Advisory Committee. I also yell at the Port Authority a little bit. I do a lot of advocacy work besides voting stuff, but I'm a poll worker. Been a poll worker for about 8 years, an election day worker. At the beginning of COVID, I started working early voting, um, and I'm also the coordinator at my local poll site. One thing I want to point out now is that you're going to hear different job descriptions from different people. Natasha and I are poll workers in New York City, and Tina's a poll worker upstate. And it's kind of a parallel universe, but there's different job descriptions, different people do different things in different counties because the county runs the election. Um, I think I'm about done introducing myself, so I will throw it back to Kathy, who's our MC.
Okay. I know I called up Victor. He's having technical problems. He said he's going to try to come back in, but I don't see him as of yet. But I think we should now switch ASL interpreters, right? Okay, so I'm going to spotlight and spotlight. Oh, I should, you know what I should do? Call it replace spotlight. That's why. Okay, I'm learning this. Replace? No, okay, I'll just leave it. Then, since we have all the speakers now spotlighted, that's good. Okay, so, who wants, I guess Natasha, you're next to start off
Okay.
about eligibility.
Yep. All right. Okay, guys, I'm back again.
I'm watching.
I'm sorry, my son was trying to talk to me. So I'm gonna give you a little information on how to be eligible to become a election worker. So to be eligible to be a poll worker in New York City, you must be a New York State registered voter. If you are 17 years old, however, you also may be eligible to become a poll worker if your school district participates in a program under the New York State Education Law, Section 3207-A. However, they does not require them to be a registered voter because you can't be a registered voter until you're 18, but you can be a poll worker. Also, interpreters do not need to be registered voters as well. Usually, you will be assigned within the county where you live. In our case, in the borough. If we live in New York City, you will be assigned in within the borough where you live. So that's just a little bit of how to become eligible to become a poll worker.
Okay, we have here, Victor is back. So should we'll let Victor just tell a little bit about himself, and then we'll go to you, Michael. Would that be
Sure.
okay? Okay, Victor, I'm gonna spotlight you. You're the Malintucci here, I believe. You have to unmute yourself. Victor, is that you? Malintucci, I think.
I don't know which Marilyn Victor is.
Yeah, I think he's this one because it looked like it from the video. But yeah, what happened? Let's see. Okay, people coming down here. Huh. I don't know what happened with him.
I just hit the
Okay,
button saying ask all to unmute. Please, only Victor, unmute yourself.
I don't see him unmuting.
Uh,
Okay, so maybe we'll just go ahead. We'll forge ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so Michael, you want to go?
So
Just
if you
do a little
want to apply to
synopsis.
be a poll worker, it's different. If you live in New York City, you need to go fill out an application at pollworker.vote.nyc. Not expecting everyone to write down these URLs. It'll all be sent to you. If you don't live in New York City, it's a different website. It's elections.ny.gov/forms/become a poll worker. And I'm not going to repeat it because I don't expect you to write it. You'll get it you'll get it emailed to you. And I just wanted to point something out about the value of being a poll worker. Before I was a poll worker, I actually saw myself as the guy that limped around the neighborhood, and people saw me and I was just that guy, who walks funny. And I became a poll worker and I became the coordinator at my neighborhood website, the school where I vote, the place where my kids went to school, where my neighbors vote. One day when I was in the subway station, a woman stopped me as I was leaving and she said, I need you to help me figure out how to use the Omni machine. And she said, you help me vote. So you're the guy in the neighborhood who's helpful. So I know you can help me. And I felt like I got a promotion. I wasn't the limpy guy. I was the helpful guy in the neighborhood. And anyone watching this video could become a poll worker. There is honestly a shortage of people working the election day, and you can all apply, and you'll be the person in your neighborhood that will help people vote. Um, Natasha said they're going to send you to your borough. They're very likely to send you to the place where you vote. There's no need to send you across a big trip because you got to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Um, so I just really wanted to get that be heard that you get paid, but I felt a lot of value in being a poll worker to myself personally. And we also talked before this meeting not to say poll worker because it sounds like stripper. It's election day worker, but we're poll workers.
Thank you, Michael. We have Victor back, and I was able to spotlight him. So, Victor, would you like to just tell everybody a little bit about yourself? You have to unmute yourself. Can you unmute? Okay, while we wait for Victor to unmute, we'll go on to, okay, we're going to have Tina talk about the process of becoming a poll worker, and what,
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you. Okay,
Okay.
so Victor, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there into reasonable accommodations, and we're going to talk about what's done upstate, and then Tina will do that, and then Victor will do downstate. So,
My name is Victor Andrews, Black African American. I have been a poll worker for at least 30 years or more. And it's a fun job. I started doing one day, and then I rolled over to early voting, and I have fun doing both. So
and so now Tina, are you done?
I
Victor?
am ready.
Okay.
When you work upstate, this does vary county to county, so I would tell you to speak to someone at your county board of elections. As a poll site manager, I take two classes, one in how to sign people in and all of that kind of thing, which afterwards they give you a written test and you have to score about 90 to pass it, but they give you lots of chances. Um, and then I take a course, which I'm going to go take tomorrow, on how to set up the ballot marking device and how, if somebody makes a mistake, how to spoil that ballot, how to do affidavits and court orders and things that come in through the legal system, because voting is very much tied up in our legal system. And that's the kind of training. And if you need a reasonable accommodation, I know here in Onondaga County where I live, our commissioners are very good about making an accommodation. When I first started, the classes were not always in accessible places. And there's one time it just wasn't accessible, so I didn't get to take the first class on how to do everything. And I came in to do my machine setting up class, and the instructor said, here's the test from the class you couldn't get into because couldn't get you in the door. The commissioner said he knows that you can take this test and pass it because you've been doing it longer than he has. So I just took the test and that was that. They won't let me do that anymore. They make me sit through the class. But, it's not that bad. And I'm going to pass it to Victor and he can tell you what happens when you need a reasonable accommodation in New York City.
when you need a reasonable accommodation in New York City, what happens is I created a blind program for vision impaired users. I was the first user, and they said, okay, where you guys can't see the book, so well, they said to me, well, you can't see the book, so guess what? We're not going to make you sit through the class. So I don't anymore. Now the BMD is now my class. So I have an instructor who teaches the class, and it's hands-on. So basically, in New York City, they use what we call a BMD, a market balance device. That's what I use to vote. So that's basically the hands-on class that you get, and that's your exam. You follow the instructor, and she says, open the machine, or she'll say, take the paper out, or she'll say, put the paper in, or something like that along those lines. And so that's what you do, and that's your exam. That's it. There's no more written exam. There's no more book. So that's what I made change about maybe 5 years ago in Brooklyn, New York. That's what we do in our Brooklyn office. Every borough is different.
Right.
So please talk to your board of elections.
Also, I know I looked at the online form in New York City and I went through it, and it does have a point in it where it says that if you do you request a reasonable accommodation due to disability? If yes, then they ask you to please provide details of your requested accommodation. And then there's a space for you to put in your request in detail so that they know what you need. So when you're applying, you can actually make the request in New York City that is on the application. And I would suspect also in other counties it would be similar.
One of the things about being a poll worker in New York City is that there's a lot of different jobs that get done. You could, if you're an inspector, you might be helping people, you might be giving people their ballots, or you might be helping people put their ballots into the scanning machine. I don't have very good fine motor skills, so I never worked with the voting machine. I can't deal with the little locks, and if it gets jammed, I can't pull out the paper. I'm also don't have great balance, so I can't stand all day. But I work at the table, and I'm either using a tablet to figure out who should get what ballot people get, or I'm reaching over and handing someone a ballot. And so, as part of the reasonable accommodation is they give you a job that you can do. You don't have to do every job. Because not everyone always does one job. It varies.
Okay. Next thing, I guess since when you first start working, isn't it correct that usually you start as just a worker on election day? Would
Yes.
that be correct?
Yes. You
Yes.
start.
Okay.
Yes.
In New York City, if you apply to be an election day worker, you very likely will get hired, and you will
Yes.
work election day. In order to work early voting, there's a bit of patronage involved. It's a highly demanded job. There's less of them because you wind up working about 12 days, and you can make a lot of money. And yeah, you kind of have to know someone in your district office,
You're a district leader.
the
Your
district
district leader. Yep.
Yeah, or you have to
Yes.
know someone who introduces you to a district leader. So we're basically talking here about election day work, because if you're new to the system, that's a job you're going to get.
Right, and that makes sense because your first time they'd, want to probably limit you to one day and learning process. And then Tina, is there anything you want to comment about
Yeah,
upstate?
it's a little bit different outside of New York City. And I think this is generally because New York City is so large. We have two positions. You're an election worker or you're either a poll worker or a poll site manager. Poll workers check people in, print and hand out ballots, oversee the scanners, making sure people are putting the ballot in the right way and not jamming it up, or helping people understand, because if you make a mistake on your ballot, the ballot scanner will let you know, hey, you didn't vote for this position, or you voted for three people when you're only supposed to vote for two on this line. So it lets you know. And we have somebody stationed near the scanner, not too close to give people privacy, but when things start beeping and making noises, we can say, would you like some assistance? Because we really prioritize people having privacy when they are voting. So we don't just budge in, we say, would you like some assistance?
Mhm.
Now the poll site manager does all the jobs that the poll worker does because it's our job to fill in when people have breaks. We also set up and break down the site, set up the machine, set up the ballot printer. Um, we spoil the ballots that people make mistakes on when they want a new one. We handle all the court orders and affidavit ballots and all of, if a poll worker doesn't know what to do, they call the poll site manager. The poll site manager either calls the Board of Elections or knows what to do. Um, we try to figure it out before we call the board because sometimes calling the board, you can be on hold for 20 minutes. So we try to figure it out ourselves. But we're usually a crew in where I work, we have usually three voting districts. And we have one, two, three, four, five, six. We have usually 4 to 6 poll workers and 2 poll site managers. And we try to keep it an even division of Democrats and Republicans just to keep it fair. So if you call somebody over because you need help with your ballot, usually you get a Democrat and a Republican so that there's nobody's interfering with anything. You know, we keep everything nonpartisan. Um, you wouldn't even know which one of us is a Republican or which one of us is a Democrat. We keep it very, very cool, and our only our only goal is to make sure that a person gets their private vote and it goes in the scanner and it gets counted.
Sounds great.
You guys want to talk about
Do you
what
want to
happens in New
go?
York City?
Yeah, I mean,
Yep. So here in New York City, we have kind of a bunch of different positions. We have a pole site coordinator, which is very similar to what Tina was saying as a pole site manager. We have line managers, those, and we have information clerks. We have accessibility clerks. We have table inspectors. Michael, you want to chime in?
Yeah. One of the things I'd mentioned
oh,
that
we have a question. Hold on a second. We have a question, but we will answer that question from the chat at the end of this little presentation. So
um,
just hold on, whoever put that
okay.
in.
So Tina mentioned she said there's like 5 or 6 people working at a poll site. My poll site in Park Slope at PS 321, we have 30 people working. It's a lot more people. We have 5 tables and 4 scanning machines. So we have different jobs.
Right.
You have to be working a while to become a coordinator. But some people, there's the line management people because the people vote in the cafeteria, and probably wherever, if you get a job as a poll worker, you're going to be probably working in a school, and it's not going to be easy to get to. So a lot of line management are the people who help people get from the front door of the building to the polling, to the room where you vote.
Right.
There's also an information clerk, someone who's sitting in the doorway and would tell you if you're in the right place, and they'll tell you which table to go to get your ballot. Because there'll be 5 or 6 tables in one room, and they all have different ballots because there's so many overlapping districts with Congress and Senate and state assembly and city council that it's this many jigsaw puzzles laid on top of each other, and your ED, your election district, could just be your own apartment building in New York City. So they'll send you to the right table. And then the person at the table is called a table inspector. Those people work in pairs or even actually 2 pairs at one table. And they're always going to be a Democrat and a Republican sitting at a table. And then a line management person would get that person to go over to the scanning machine. Sometimes there's a line to do that, and we want to keep everything orderly. Or they'll get that person over to the ballot marking device. And then in the middle of the room, there'll be the interpreters. So there's many jobs you can get when you're election day worker. Um, and
I'm gonna explain a few of them to you. I'll explain them to you guys next.
Go ahead.
Oh no, there's still some more positions because you have like the privacy booth inspector, the ballot marking device inspectors, the scanner inspectors.
There's a lot of specialties when you're trained, you're trained as an inspector, and you're supposed to be able to know how to do everything an inspector does, which means you know how to work a table, which means giving out ballots. You know how to work scanners, which means helping people actually vote, or you're a BMD inspector, which means that you help people use the ballot marking device, or a privacy booth inspector, which is kind of the BMD inspectors doing that at the same time. And the accessibility clerks are making sure the BMD is set up correctly, and also the line management and accessibility clerks have to work together, because the line management people are telling you how to get from point A to point B, but the accessibility clerks are making sure that if there's a door involved that's very heavy, they're going to be just hanging out there waiting to open the door for someone who can't move a heavy door. Or if there's, when I work early voting in the high school near my house, there's an elevator that requires an operator. So the accessibility clerks are just hanging out waiting for someone to need the elevator. So there's a lot of hanging out when you're working. There's like be there and be available if you're needed. So on one hand, it could be very boring, but on the other hand, you have an important job because you can't be everywhere. So they have a lot of people to be in the places they need to be.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
And then all this will be in slides that we'll send out later, so don't worry, everyone, about taking all this information down. But good. Then, Tasha, did you want to say something more about?
Oh no, I was gonna say. I mean, do you want me to still go into depth about what each position is? I mean, Michael did a really good job at explaining a lot of it.
I think maybe you want to just go a little bit about the interpreters, a little bit, about how easy about that job. And not that it's easy, but that you don't need as much training for that, as long as you are fluent in a language that is necessary for people.
So interpreters. The interpreters assist non-English speaking voters by translating voting information. They actually, the moment a voter comes to them for help, they must translate everything. Everything that gets said. It's not just like specific like things. They have to like, if the ballot has, let's say, proposals on it, for instance, right? They need to read off every single proposal. They need to read off everything that's on that ballot, because if they don't do that, then it looks like they're electioneering. So to avoid electioneering, they must translate everything.
Okay, can I just stop you there? What do you mean by electioneering for people that aren't, fluent in voting stuff?
So electioneering is basically when someone is telling you who to vote for. So, like politicians, usually what happens is a lot of politicians send out workers from their, that they have working for them, and they go out and they give them flyers telling them, oh, this is the person you want to vote for. Oh, that's the person you want. You know what I mean? So, as poll workers, as election workers, we are not allowed to participate in any sort of electioneering at all. We are not allowed to come dressed with any political clothing on us. We're not allowed to talk any political speak while you're working for the Board of Elections. We're not even allowed to mention it on social media.
But
As a poll worker, that is like a complete no-no. We are not allowed to mention it.
And one of the other things is you kind of have to play voter police.
Yeah.
If somebody comes in wearing a button that says Michael Smith for governor, you have to ask them to remove it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. So
There was a lot of controversy about the Make America Great t-shirts. Um, I guess in our county, it was finally decided as long as it didn't have a politician's name on it, it was okay. But we do ask people to kind of zip up their coats or whatever to not be talking about candidates. We also remind people that if you want to talk with your friend about your vote, please take it outside of this room.
Yeah.
And we
I've
have
had,
signs around that politicians are not allowed to bring their workers in to hand things out within 100 feet
yeah.
of the polling place.
Yep.
So we go out and
So
hammer and nail things into telephone poles. And one year there was a big to do in Onondaga County because um we got a tray of subs from a candidate, and there was a big old sign on it that said, "We love you, election workers, Senator so and so." And we had to remove all of that before we could eat the subs. And we were some hungry poll workers. We like it when politicians, people bring us food.
so
Without their name
before
on
we
it.
lose track, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I meant I did that, but before we lose track, um the other thing when it comes to being an interpreter, you have to know in New York City what boroughs have what languages. So in Brooklyn, we're only approved for Spanish, Chinese, and Korean. However, Queens is approved for Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Urdu, Bengali, Hindi, and some others.
a lot.
Huh?
Queens is like the UN.
Yeah, basically. And see, I lost my train of thought now. Shoot. So, as an interpreter, you have to, know that, hey, if let's say I'm a language that's not approved, I cannot talk to you in that language. As much as I would like to as a poll worker, I'm not allowed. So that's why we have the interpreters, and that's why we kind of try to push to get more languages approved. Yeah, that's pretty much it
And
about when it comes to
that's based on the census.
yeah.
Right, it's
So,
based on the census.
yeah.
And then, so we do have a question in the chat. I'm just going to ask that, and then we can go into each of you talking about why you're a poll worker, if that's okay, and then we'll have questions and more questions and answers.
Okay.
Okay. The one question in the chat was, do the ballot marking devices have different languages on it? And that was from Anne Marie.
Yes.
Yes, they do. And again, it comes down to what area you're in. It will have the ones that are approved.
Here in Onondaga County, I believe the only language other than English we have is Spanish.
So, like here in Brooklyn, it would be the Chinese and Spanish and English.
Okay. So now who wants to speak first about why they are, and you each only, I'm going to cut you off after like 5 minutes because we're getting at 7:44 and I want to leave time for questions. So, okay, so who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Why are you, all right, Tina, why are you a poll worker?
Why am I a poll worker?
Election worker.
Election worker. When I got exposed to it, I was actually going in and teaching disability etiquette to these poll workers. And I looked at the election in commissioner and I said, why can't I teach disability etiquette by actually being present? People are going to learn how to interact with people a lot better if they're present. And he said, you want to do it? I said, of course I do. And he set me up. I did the training and I did experience a lot of pushback from people. And I think they learned a lot about me when they dared me we used to have these lever machines, and they were big and tall.
Yep.
And one of the little elderly workers who didn't think I should be there said, "Okay, miss, you think you can do anything? Go up there and get that write-in paper off there." So I climbed up in my wheelchair. I was like kneeling in my wheelchair, got up and pulled down this big old roll, this big old paper, and tore it off. And I said, "There, see, I can do anything that I want to. And I never want to do that again. But I will."
Excellent.
And I just, it, like Michael said earlier, I became the person like, "Hey, I've seen you around town and
Yep.
you help at elections and you care about people who are elderly and people who have mobility impairments and people who have problems trying to vote. And you want to help us. So you must want to help all the time." And I said, "Of course I want to help all the time. I'm a helper." And I became known, and people came to me and said, "Can you help us with this? Can you help us with that?" And I became actually more involved in my community. And I met more people that actually lived in my community that had disabilities because I live outside the Syracuse city limits. I knew a lot of people in Syracuse that had wheelchairs. I knew a lot of people on crutches in Syracuse, but I met people from outside Syracuse that were hiding in the suburbs who needed help with things. So I helped them learn how to use different transportation. I helped them learn how to do a whole bunch of other things. And now I'm known as, you can stop Tina and ask her anything. And if she knows the answer, she'll tell you. And that is really important because I became less of somebody seen by the more able-bodied people as a burden. Oh, because when I was riding the public bus, I'd get all the time that I was a burden and a pain in the butt. But these people saw me interacting with other people and saw me helping people, and I became less of that burden and more of a community member. And I see people all the time. My polling place now is 2 blocks from my house. And I see people all the time. And they come and they say, "Hey, I saw you at the polling place. You helped my friend who was unsure about her registration and all these other things, and you helped her figure it out. Thank you." And it just means a lot to me to be recognized as a community member, not just a person in a wheelchair.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. All right. You made your mark under 4 minutes. That's really great. So, who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Okay, go ahead, Natasha.
All right. So my story is a little funny. So my mom and my dad were both poll workers, election workers. As a matter of fact, both of them at different time frames were coordinators. Now, I lived directly across the street from their polling site. So I was a kid when my dad was the coordinator, but I became 18 when my mom was the coordinator there. So I went into the polling site one night and I went to say hello to my mom just to see how she was doing. Because, I just woke up, whatever, rolled out of bed, crossed the street, all that good stuff. I walk in and my mom says, "Oh, yeah, you're not going anywhere." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "No, no, 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 no. You're registering to become a voter." And I was like, "What, mommy? I don't want to do." She was like, "Register." So I registered. And back then, when I started, it was easier to become a poll worker. You just had to be, 18, a registered voter, and that was that. Like, you didn't take classes or nothing. So I filled out the registration form, and my mom turned around and looked at me and was like, "Okay, now shut up, sit down, and work." So that's how I started to become a poll worker. And after that, I continued to. I actually enjoyed it, watching how it went down. I knew the neighborhood. I knew the voters because they were all from the neighborhood. I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of get away with murder because there were plenty of times where I would roll out of bed at whatever time, come in, sign in, roll back into bed, come back at night, and sign out. But that was then. You can't get away with that anymore. So as time progressed, I became more intrigued about the different positions. I became more like, wait a minute, I can do that. I know that. Let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can do that. All while being disabled, by the way. And my mom was disabled as well. So my mom was a very strong woman. She taught me how to, do what I need to do for myself, even with my disability and my limitations. So eventually, I met people. I got to know people. And I met a coordinator who had offered me the position as a coordinator. I said I would love it. Did not realize, though, that to become a coordinator, you needed to kind of get really good with your district leaders. I, however, had no idea who my district leader was. None at all. And he introduced me to who he thought was my district leader. The guy told me, come to my office. Turns out his office was in an apartment. Yeah, it was a little crazy. And thank God my husband was with me at the time because I was like a little freaked out that I had to go into this man's apartment. And while we were sitting there talking, the man was basically like, well, here's the deal. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And as a young person, I kind of looked at that like, I don't like that deal. Like, I don't mind doing things if you need me to, but you came out at me a weird way, and I'm not feeling that. So I kind of let it go. A few years later, I ran into the same gentleman who offered me the position the first time. And I said to him, well, he was like, well, what are you still being a table inspector for? I said, well, because, being a coordinator didn't pan out. He was like, no, I got you. Don't worry. I got you. I said, okay. They set me up with my basic class that I needed to always take every year. And then I get a phone call a week later asking me when do I want to set up my coordinators class. And I was in shock. Moving forward, it basically, I just went from one position to one position to one position to where I finally met my district leader that I really liked, I enjoyed. And within the first time meeting me, she helped me become an assistant trainer. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be an early voting coordinator. I am now in the process of looking into becoming not only an assistant, but now I want to become a trainer. And I'm also in the process of looking into becoming an permanent Board of Election worker. Hopefully that pans out. Um, I too, like Michael said, love the fact that poll workers see me and they recognize me. I've seen so many people. Just recently, I ran into one of my old poll workers on the bus. And she was like, what, you don't love us anymore? You abandoned us. Like, why did you leave us? And I had to tell her that they had given me my own sites. And she was like, well, so I'm happy, but I miss you. So it's that feeling of knowing that somewhere down the line, I make a difference in their lives because I'm
Excellent.
unforgettable.
We have to now move on to the next person. Victor, do you want to go or Michael?
Yep, I'll go.
Okay. 5 minutes.
I'm
Let's see it. You get.
Sorry.
That's
I,
okay.
I
It was
got my
hectic.
position through my district at the time, who was Walter Mosley, but I got my position. It's funny how I got mine because I was an election day worker at the time, still is, But I had a guide dog at the time, and I had to go home and walk my dog, or else they were going to put me in Timbuktu somewhere. But he said, "All right, well, you have a guide dog, you got to walk him." I said, "Yeah, I got to go do that." So he goes, "Okay, I'm putting you by your house," and I've been by my house ever since day one. Doing general election and primary election, but when it comes to early voting, I'm at Massachusetts and Temple, which is up the block from my house, which I can walk in both directions, either direction, to either site when it's time for early voting or election day. So um, I'm the first blind person in the 57 AD to actually be a poll worker in the 57 AD. I'm the only blind person in, well, I'm not now. There's three more, two more actually, in the 57 AD, but I am the only one that does early voting as well as election day. So I enjoy my job. I, like others have said in the past, um, I I get told, "Hey, can you? I've seen you before." Yeah, I know, but we haven't seen you in a minute. Oh well, you probably didn't see me because I was on break somewhere. But yeah, I love my job, and I go in between jobs, especially when I start in the morning. So, yep,
Excellent.
that's
And then Michael, do you have a few
Um,
comments? Just a
my,
few,
my
because then we want to get to the questions. Because we're
I can be quick because I already talked about, how I'm seen as the neighborhood helper as opposed to the neighborhood limpy guy. Um, and my path to voting is a lot like Natasha's. I, just started out being a election day worker, and I just wanted to get more involved. And it's more money.
Yep.
And I enjoy working with my neighbors. And as a person with a disability, I kind of take pride in the fact that I'm
Yes.
handing people a piece of paper, but I can do it with my hands don't work very well, but people can see, oh, look what disabled people could do.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm representing the disability community, but I'm also just a guy that wants to go to work. I'm doing both. I'm not there to show up to be inspirational to anyone. I'm there to go it's $250 a day. It's a long day. I wanted to mention here about the long day part. We have to be on election day. You have to be at the poll site at 5 a.m. And it usually takes about an hour after the polls close before you can go home. I mean, it's going to be at least an hour. So it's 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., but you get 2 hours of break. And if it's not busy, as a coordinator, if someone wants to take more than 2 hours and, they're, go home and take a nap and come back, we can bend the rules for that because it is a gigantically long day. And I once had a doctor's appointment I couldn't get out of. And I said to my coordinator, before I was the coordinator, I said, I don't know if I can get there and back in 2 hours. And she said, do your best. And it took 3.5 hours. And I came running back in. And I said, and I actually, when I left, I said, if I'm gone too long, send me home. I won't fight with you. And in 3.5 hours, I said, I'm sorry, I just got back. This is as fast as I can do it. And she looked at me and she said, but did you eat? I said, no, I ran to Manhattan and back from Brooklyn. And she said, well, go get something to eat and come back to work. Because if you do your job good, the coordinator is going to give you the flexibility.
Yep.
It's okay.
yep,
But you got to be there at the beginning and you got to be there at the end.
Yep.
Because that's when
yep,
it's hard. The middle is when things slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's a busy election, time goes fast. You're busy.
right.
yes,
You show up at 5, you set the polling place up, open the doors at 6. Next thing you know, it's 10:30 in the morning, and you're going to get your third cup of coffee.
Yep.
There's a lot of coffee going on, and it's doable. I mean, the
yep,
whole point of this Zoom is to encourage the people that have disabilities to apply for this job. And none of us work for the Board of Elections. I mean, Natasha's on her way there, but we don't get a commission or anything. The benefit of it is being seen in the community. We can do stuff, and everyone here who's watching could do this job. They give you accommodations.
Yep.
When I became a coordinator, I said, listen, there's a lot of things I can't do because there's a lot of writing. And they said, you're the coordinator. You can call someone over, hand them a pen, and tell them what to write.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's a nice thing to do. One of the younger poll workers, she started in the morning, I said, how's your handwriting? And she's like, I'm very proud of my handwriting. I'm like, we're going to work together today.
That's
I mean,
true.
just on general election and primaries, you have to be back by 6 p.m. because you're there from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. on election day and primary days. You have to be back by 6 o'clock. If not, that's when the big boys start walking around. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Okay. Let's get to the. Do we have questions here? Anybody? Ask away.
what's in the
I
chat, Kathy? What's in the chat?
in the chat. I mean, also raise your hands or just shout it out. We're very informal here.
We have nothing in the chat.
Oh,
Good
just
job, Natasha.
okay. It's just Justin's on now. Okay. All right. So okay, anybody, I mean,
Oh,
I
also electionday.com is where you can sign up to be a poll worker. You could do it online versus going down to the board. I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think if you do it online, it's faster than doing it, writing it by pen.
Yeah, I would agree.
And also, we forgot to tell them, New York City, you have to go on election day worker to look at your uh,
Absolutely.
dashboard. Your dashboard tells you what class you have coming up. They tell you when you work, what's your address, and all that sort of jazz. And
and
anything else I can say is just make sure when it comes to early voting, you have a district leader and you work with them because those are the people who put you in for early voting. Those are the people who put you in.
Hmm.
You do 9 days. If they give you 9 days, do it because you'll never know if you'll get that chance again.
Yep.
If they put you in, make sure you do it. I've done it for 30 years or more. So, thanks to Walter Mosley and Renee Collymore. Those are my two people. So,
and
in Brooklyn, that is.
now when you go for the training, does anybody you have any questions about that on the audience? Anything about the training, about the exam, about other than what was mentioned about the hours?
So,
Also about the pay. Is it different pay for different jobs?
so in New York City, the training is usually one training depending on your position. Like a coordinator has to do four trainings, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken,
Correct. Yep.
because the coordinator has to know every single job. They have to know how to do each job because at any given point they may have to jump in and do it. So
Yep.
you would have to go to four different trainings. However, each training you get paid for. The pay for that is different. Each training, depending on the amount of hours of the training class, will determine how much you get paid for it.
Is
As for working the elections, like Michael said, election day is $250.
and
Okay,
that's for everybody?
that's for
Yes.
everybody.
Everybody. Yep.
Ah,
Coordinators get paid a little more.
okay.
Coordinators do get paid a
In
little
New York
more
City.
in New York City.
Yep.
For early voting, it is $250 a day
Yep.
for poll workers, and again, the coordinators get paid more. So that's something to look for. To look at. You can make. If I'm not mistaken, I think if you do all 9 days
Yep.
and
A
election
thousand.
day, now that's one of the criteria you must know. That even if you work with your district leader to get the 9 days, you must work election day.
Okay, hold on. Is that the same rule up outside of New York City where you live in Tina?
Oh yes.
Okay.
I lost privileges for 2 years to work early voting because I was in the hospital once on election day. And I'd worked a couple early voting days and I'm like, but I was in the hospital. I still lost my privilege to work early voting.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
And here in Onondaga County, we make minimum wage, but there are different bonuses. If you're the poll site manager, if you transport the
Right.
stuff back to the Board of Elections, you get a little here, a little there. Um,
Mm.
that kind of thing. But we generally make minimum wage for each hour we work at the election and at early voting and for our classes.
Okay. I have another question of the group on the audience. Is anybody here thinking now, after coming to this program, of becoming an election day worker? Any thoughts out there? I see some heads
Brandon
shaking.
says
Oh,
me.
okay, Brandon, that's great.
Yeah.
Brandon, where you at in Brooklyn?
Oh,
Long
Long
Island.
Island.
So contact your Long Island Board of Elections.
Yep.
And
And
when you
then
file your application, there is a part on the application that says I want to become a poll worker. Same thing, Marilyn. Are you in Brooklyn?
it's not
He's with me
Maryland,
on
but
Long
it's on.
Island.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah,
So same
Brandon's on
thing.
Long Island. But the other person who's says Maryland, but it's
Queen is
you want to
Queens.
unmute yourself and we can hear more from you?
Awesome, Mark.
Oh, great. Mark just emailed his local board of elections. Excellent. And the person up there who has the fan above them uh is scratching his face right now. I think you wanted to talk. Can you unmute yourself? No, you know? Okay, all right. If you want to, even you can put it in the chat if you like to. And I will read it.
And Anne Marie, if you need any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I'll help you get connected because we are very short-handed.
So are we.
Well,
Very.
yeah, we are.
Good. We
We're
got a whole
very
group
short-handed.
here. We have like what, 4 people now that's saying they're doing this? This
And
is
if
great.
this is kind of a backhanded clue as to how to get hired also. There
Yep.
has to be an even number of Democrats and Republicans
Yep.
at every
Yes.
polling place.
Yes.
Speaking for myself in Park Slope, there's like no Republicans here.
Same.
If you
Same.
if you become a Republican, you're much more likely to get work
Yep.
because
I mean, they do that to me because they're short-headed, like they said about who's a Dem and who's whatever. They just do it just for election day.
right. They might actually tell you. They might put a D on your name tag when you're a Republican if you live in like Staten Island, so that it balances it out, and they just say act like a Republican, which is kind of
Here in
bizarre.
Onondaga County, we take independents and conservatives and and put them in like if we're short. We have a problem where I live being short Republicans. So
That's everywhere.
conservatives and independents get to have little R's on them because
Mhm.
they are
Yeah.
not Democrats.
Yeah.
Right.
And
But
one
the
of the
whole thing
reasons
is you
we're
still have to
shorthanded,
be neutral,
you,
correct?
you have
Yes.
to be
Yes.
neutral. Like
That's
Yes.
the purpose.
another example of neutrality is that, I'm the coordinator, so I'm basically sitting at the front desk, the table. And, a couple of my neighbors walked in and I got up to chat with them and they started talking politics. And I actually said, hey, I'm prohibited by the terms of my employment contract to continue this conversation. And then they gave me a hug because it's like a politics vacation. It's like I hear what you're saying, but I'm not allowed to continue this conversation, and it was relieving. It was like a day of I'm here to work about the process. I'm not here to do politics. I'm
Yep.
here to get
Yep.
anyone who wants to vote, we help them vote.
Right.
This is about the process, not about the person.
Yeah.
And it has always been in my heart of hearts that everyone gets to participate in the process with as many reasonable accommodations as they need. So, I'm the one talking to people like the elderly people who shake too much and we have a hard time reading their ballots in the scanner, trying to get them to use the ballot marking device.
Yep.
Not quite so successful yet, but I did help a gentleman who was visually impaired
Right.
use the BMD, and he said that's the first time in 10 years I was able to vote without having to tell my mother who I wanted to vote for and have her mark it. And I said, man, this thing's been here for more than 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't want to use it because they're afraid. But then when they go blind or they're elderly, they go, "Oh yeah, I'll use it now." Why wait that long? Start early in the game.
And
And it's
Don't
not
start
just
too
for
late.
people with disabilities.
Yep.
Anybody on planet Earth, I do not have the right to ask you if you say to me, "Hey, I want to use the ballot marking device." I don't have the right to say to you, "Well, do you have a disability?" No, come here, let me show you this ballot marking device.
And my site, I love it because my poll workers, they're quick on to get people on that BMD. The last presidential election, my BMDs were worked so much that I had to have my tech checking it out like every hour on the hour because it was overworked.
wow, that's great.
I mean,
Wow.
my
I
poll
would have loved to
workers
have
are
been there.
so good when it comes to putting people on that BMD. I love that machine.
Wow.
I use it all the time.
It's my
Excellent.
friend.
Just a
Actually,
quick
see,
question to the audience. Does everybody here know what a BMD ballot marking device is? Is there anybody here that doesn't know? And don't be afraid, to say you don't know. That's okay. This is a safe space, you know? Uh, We all
I
don't know
mean,
everything. So,
those BMDs early voting, they send out a tech from the actual company
Yep.
itself
Yes.
to grease the wheels and do all that sort of jazz. Because I've had problems
ESNS.
and whatnot. Yep. ESNS. Yep.
Yep, ESNS. They come out. They come out periodically over the course of the 9 days to check on those machines,
Yep.
just to make sure
my,
they're working properly. I mean, in the beginning when the BMDs first came out, they weren't used very often, but more and more people, at least here in Brooklyn,
Yep.
I gotta say, more and more people are intrigued with using that machine.
And it's less time. You just put your ballot in. You done in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, the most. You don't have to worry about using a pen. It is a pen.
It is a
right.
pen. Yep,
And I believe you cannot overvote. You
you
can
can't
undervote intentionally, but you can't overvote, which
overvote.
is
Nope, it
good.
You
doesn't let you. It won't
well,
let you.
I know people that have overvoted on it
There was
and
one election.
printed it out and then put to the scanner and goes, "Why is not taking it?" I said, "Because you probably overvoted."
There was
No, no,
one
undervoted.
election.
Yeah,
I
that's what I
don't
meant.
know. I don't know what happened, who calibrated them or what, but there was one election
Yep, where
where
the
people were
overvotes
able
were
to.
plenty.
Oh, there really were off of that BMD.
There was a
Yep.
question in the chat that we should explain the BMD a little better.
Okay.
I can do that.
Go ahead, Mike.
So
Take
when
it.
you're given your ballot, you could choose to just go to the privacy booth and fill in the ovals with a pen. But if you have a challenge, if it's hard for you to read or it's hard for you to write, you can bring your ballot to a machine that does a lot of things at the same time.
Yep.
It scans your ballot. It actually reads a barcode on the edge of the ballot, so it knows what your ballot says. And then the ballot is you can see it on a touch screen. And when, as far as see it on your touch screen, you can magnify it. You could change the color contrast. You could also plug headphones in,
Yes.
and it will read it to you in the languages that are available in your district. So in
Yep.
Brooklyn, it's going to be Spanish or Chinese. In Queens, it's going to be like the Tower of Babel. But it'll do that. And then you could use the touch screen. You could use a mouse, and then if you have a more severe disability, you could use a sip and puff,
Yep.
or you could use a rocker paddle on the floor, or
Yep.
it could be placed on a ledge for you.
Or
And then
anywhere.
and
You
then
can put it under
Anywhere.
your chin, the
anywhere.
rocker paddle.
And then you could mark your ballot, which means you would choose it'll show you on the screen what your vote would be, and in the language that you choose, or you could hear it read to you, and then it will confirm it, and then it'll say, "Are you sure?" And then it will print it for you. So the ballot marking device will fill in the ovals. And one of the amazing things I found out about it, even after a few years of using it, is the machine does not fill in the ovals perfectly.
Nope.
So it
Nope.
doesn't. So when you get your ballot, and then you put it in the scanner, and once it's in the scanner in this pile of ballots in the machine, you can't tell who used the ballot marking device and who used the pen because they're all a little weird. Every oval is not filled in right on the money. So it's just a fancy pen.
Right.
Yep.
Um,
And
And
I see here in the chat,
yeah,
Anne Marie was asking, how can we advocate? That's really hard because that's a census thing. So get more people to fill out the census that speak other
Yes.
languages. That's the only way.
Here
Because
in New York
I've
City,
said that we need more than Spanish because we have a lot of people who are from Asian countries, and it'd be nice to be able to offer them their language.
so here in New York City, we do get from the mayor's office. In Brooklyn, they do get people that do come. Most of the time it's only during early voting, and it's usually just on the weekends of like certain areas that they know are a specific speaking language that is not an approved language. So they'll send like these groups out that speak those languages to be interpreters. It's not part of the Board of Elections. It is from the mayor's office.
also, just one other thing I wanted to mention that in New York City, at least, we now have the capability to request ASL interpretation, but you have to make that request at least, I believe it's 48 hours before you plan to vote, and to let them know when you're going to vote, so they have an ASL interpreter at that poll site to assist you, which is a wonderful new thing in New York City. And we'd like to advocate that for throughout the state. So that's another project we can all be working on.
Let's get them to let's get people who use ASL to
Help.
do their census, and remember to let the government know that they are ASL speakers.
Exactly, because it is a language and it should
It
be
is.
respected. So I think we're at 8:17. Are there any other questions or comments from the audience? Anything? Don't be shy. Well, just hanging out here. We really appreciate you coming here on a Friday night.
This was very informative, and yeah, this was good. And I'll probably be chatting with you guys because I have some ideas. And Tina, you already know Tina because we talked.
Yeah, we work in the same office space, but for different people.
Oh, that's so funny.
I know.
Hey, I got some great Rev Up swag. Come see me. I'll be in the office on Wednesday.
Cool. Okay.
Excellent. A little connection here.
Yeah, but I still miss you, Kathy.
Oh, we miss you. We try to see if we can get you back down here in New York City.
Nuh-uh, we got her now.
Oh no.
She's one of my favorite people that work on the other side of my office.
Oh, that's great. I guess should we stop the recording now?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
stop.
Okay, let me do that. Thanks, everybody. Let me just stop that. Okay.